Welcome back to the Irish Bandit channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I, as always, am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit, and we are into the month of October, and I am back. So it's good to be back first and foremost. Get that out of the way first. But yes, like I said, we are in the month of October, which means we are in the month of Halloween. And if you know me, you know Halloween is one of my most favorite days of the year, and the entire month of October is just full of spooky stuff and horror movies. A little personal stuff for me, but I won't get into that at the point. Not that I'm not trying to think about it, don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying not to let it get to me as much as I have in the past, but we'll get into that in another time. So, like I said, the month of October is full of spooky stuff, and I want to talk about a movie that I watched back in 1993 when I was just a kid, just entering my teenage years, that I really didn't think much of at the time. I saw it, didn't like it much. I didn't get the hype around it at the time. If there was hype around it at the time, given the backstory of it, which you should definitely watch. I'll talk about that more as this video goes on. But after I got Disney Plus, I decided to watch this movie again through fresh eyes 20 some odd years later. And after rewatching it, I realized what a complete delight this movie is. So that led me to talk about it today, and I just watched the sequel to it as well. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. But let's talk about Hocus Pocus, the Disney movie starring Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy, and just basically what I thought of it as a kid and what I think of it now as a full-grown adult. And like I said, we'll talk about the sequel as well. So what did I think about it as a kid? Well, let's find out now. When I first saw Hocus Pocus, I was in grade 8. That's how long ago it was. I was still in elementary school. I was just about to enter high school. I was just about a half a year away from entering high school, still in grade 8. And we watched this as part of a Halloween thing in my homeroom class. Well, no, I only had one class. In my grade 8 class. And the first time I watched it, I didn't care for it one bit. There were a few things that I do remember thinking about this movie. It's like, oh my god, this is cheeseball corn and I don't like it, and Sarah Jessica Parker is really beautiful. Those are about the only things that I remember from it. I went the rest of my life not thinking about it, just chalking it up as one of those movies I'll never hear about, talk about again. And then it seemed like years later, Hocus Pocus had this huge revival. It became one of Disney's cult classics because everyone started talking about it. It's one of those movies that when Halloween rolls around, everyone would say, oh yeah, I watch Hocus Pocus. And I'm like, Hocus Pocus? Isn't that really awful movie with Bette Midler in it? Oh, I hated that movie when I was a kid. It was just dumb, and I did not like it. And everybody who I'd say that to, they looked like I just insulted their best friend. It's like, oh, how can you think about that about Hocus Pocus? I'm like, sorry, I saw it as a kid and I didn't like it all that much. I didn't think it was a good movie. Nothing you could say or do could change my mind on it. And finally it got to a point where I was like, okay, you know what? This is when Disney Plus was still being talked about before it came around, when it was announced Disney would have its own streaming service, and Hocus Pocus was announced as one of the movies that would be on there. It was like, you know what? Okay, fine. I relent. If Hocus Pocus, it looks like Hocus Pocus is going to be on this Disney Plus streaming service. So if I do end up getting it, then I will watch it again. But I doubt highly that I am going to like this. Well, I got Disney Plus. It took me a while because I hummed and hawed and hoed, and it was like, no, I don't want to, no, I don't want to. And then it was like, finally one day, it was like, you know what? Might as well just bite the bullet and watch it and see if my suspicions were correct, that after all these years, it's still a terrible movie. Now, I'm going to link you to a video in the description from Good Bad Flicks talking about Hocus Pocus and the story behind it. about the making, the production, post-production, and everything leading up to its rise as a cult film for Disney. And one of the things that really made me change my mind about this movie was all the stories that I heard from the set, that it was just a fun atmosphere to be around, that Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker just absolutely loved working on this movie and still love this movie today. So, with that in mind, I went into a second viewing of Hocus Pocus and was like, okay, well, maybe that will change my mind hearing what a positive experience it was for everybody. So I watched it again as an adult. And as an adult, I loved it. I thought it was a fun movie. It had me laughing at points. I thought it was well done, well made, well shot. The makeup effects were fantastic, especially for Bette Midler. How they made Sarah Jessica Parker, I always thought was a pretty woman, but they made her beautiful in this one. So there was that. I think Kathy Najimy brought a lot of the hilarity to this because she is a really funny lady in actuality, because no joke she is. So I thought that was really good. It was one of those movies where I'm like, holy crap, is that McGee from NCIS? And sure enough, it was a young McGee from NCIS in this movie. So had that going for it. I didn't know it at the time, of course, because NCIS wasn't even a thing at that point, but either way. But yeah, watching it again as an adult, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think one of my friends on Facebook put it really well when he said, oh, so it put a spell on you, did it? I see what you did there. But yeah, looking back on it now, it was a fun movie. So when it was final, because they always rumored a second Hocus Pocus movie, and I didn't know how they do it, given the ending of the first one, but it was kind of, I could see it working with being a supernatural movie and all that. So you do the right circumstances, sure, okay, we can get around some logic holes, because you can make a new Candle of Black Flame and all that. So when the rumors started coming around, I don't buy much into rumors, obviously. So it's like, yeah, well, we'll see when it happens. And then it started coming out. Oh yeah, filming has started for Hocus Pocus 2, doing this at D23 last year. It was like, okay, that is awesome news. So, earlier today, I watched Hocus Pocus 2. And, it was funny because I watched Hocus Pocus like a couple months after it came out on VHS. That's how old I am. Like I said, watching my grade 8 class. So, and it's only been a few days since it came out on Disney Plus. I don't know if it got a theatrical release, but I lost my train of thought there. I don't know if it got a theatrical release, but it's on Disney Plus now. So I decided, you know what, if I'm gonna do this Hocus Pocus video, I might as well talk about its sequel. So what did I think about it? Let's find out. Hocus Pocus 2 takes place 29 years after the events of the original movie, and obviously it does, because that came out in 93 and it's 2022. So, so 29 years have passed since the last time the Sanderson Sisters have been in Salem. Now, what I like about this movie right off the bat is we get a bit of an origin story for the Sanderson Sisters. We meet them when they're younger and how they develop their powers, and more specifically how Winifred got her powers as a witch. We see her getting Book. We see them causing a little bit of mischief as children. So I really, really like that. I really liked how they brought about the Sanderson Sisters again, because it was pretty much the same setup as the original movie. Candle with Black Flame, 16-year-old, virgin, all that. It was almost beat for beat the same thing that happened in the original movie, but with it being a supernatural element, they can get away with that, so I don't mind that at all. Another thing that I really loved about the movie were the Sanderson sisters themselves. Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, there you go again with Sarah Jessica Parker, I gotta slow down, and Kathy Najimy returning as the Sanderson sisters. And every time they were on screen, it was just a delight to watch. They work so well together. You can see the chemistry between Miss Midler, Miss Parker, and Miss Najimy. I'm going to be respectful here because they're legends. Especially Bette Midler. She's a true bona fide legend in everything she does, singing, acting, whatever. But you can see that they loved being back together again on screen. Some of the things that I didn't like about them. Well, one more thing that I did like about the movie were the three main girls. I can't remember their names, unfortunately, because only one watch through. But I'll probably watch it again sometime soon. Do like a double feature and watch Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2 back to back. That sounds like a good night. But I liked the chemistry between the three of them. How they started off as just kind of, you had the two friends and the one other friend who were just kind of drifting apart at this point. By the end of the movie, they come back together. I'm going to try and not give too much away here. But, the three friends were just kind of drifting apart. One trying to be cool, the other two just not giving a flip. But I love that they came back together at the end. Now, the things that I didn't like about this movie, I did not like a lot of the superfluous characters in this movie. Like, I can understand the need for the mayor character because of what he represented to the Sanderson sisters, because he was one of the bloodline of the reverend that condemned them in the first place. So I understand that, but they didn't need to make him as doofy as they did in this movie. Like, he was just unbearable at points, and I couldn't get past that. And speaking of doofy male characters, maybe this was a thing about the movie, I don't know. But the one friend who was kind of slowly drifting apart from the other two, her boyfriend was an idiot through and through. Like, this is not even funny. He was a detestable idiot because he didn't even think the stuff that he was doing was considered bullying, which is usually the MO of bullies, but whatever. So those characters I really didn't like. I kind of like the music because it kind of all really fit, just like the last movie, like with Winifred singing "I Put a Spell on You," and this time singing one way or the other. So I thought that really worked. And them reworking "The Bitches Back" by Elton John to "The Witches Are Back." That I really appreciate stuff like that. That's really good. So overall, does it have its flaws? Yes, it does. But is it still a fun movie? Absolutely. Like I said, every time the Sanderson sisters are on screen, it's a hoot. They're just funny. Especially Mary, I think it is, the one Kathy and Jimmy plays. When Winifred and Sarah, Sarah, when they get their brooms, Mary gets a couple Roombas and uses them like skates, and that is hilarious. And they help out big time with the Sanderson sisters. And I absolutely loved at the end of the movie because I think it could just kind of put a wrap on the Sanderson sisters. I thought that was really well done and really beautiful at the end. So ultimately, on a 5-point scale when it comes to Hocus Pocus 2, I give it about a 3.5, maybe a 4. Let's go 3.5. It's a nice middle of the road because that's what I felt about this movie. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't blow me away fantastic, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie, had some great laughs in it, and if you loved the first movie, I definitely say give it a watch. You might like it more than I did. Like, not just, I didn't hate it. I liked it a lot, and I will definitely watch it again. But I guess I wanted there to be more, and maybe not some idiotic characters in the end. And Billy Butcher returns too. That was awesome to see Doug Jones coming back for that role. I loved that. That was great. But yeah, I definitely give Hocus Pocus 2 3.5, and I recommend it. Not a high recommendation, but a recommendation nonetheless. But what did you think of Hocus Pocus, and what did you think of Hocus Pocus 2? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd really love to read your reviews. While you're down there, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or if it put a spell on you. In the description, you're going to see a link to all the ways you can help support this channel. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and Reddit. You can support this channel by picking up your Irish Bandit merchandise at my Irish Bandit shop on Redbubble. You can pick up your copy of my very first novel, Shade Falling, on Amazon, and now you can buy me a coffee. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, tap the bell and you'll be notified whenever a brand new video goes live. We are going to get into the rankings of some of my all-time favorite horror movie franchises as of Thursday, as I will be ranking all 5 movies in the Scream franchise, and then from there on, when we're talking about franchises, we're going to be going into 2 videos to cover everything else. I'll explain that in the screen video. And then on Friday, join me for some Dead by Daylight gameplay as I play as everyone's groovy favorite protagonist, Ash, from the Evil Dead movies. And then this weekend starts my playthrough of Blair Witch. So be sure to join me for all these videos. It is going to be one Halloween of a Halloween. If you didn't like that, tough. I'm Ben, and I will talk to you again on Thursday.